Ooh, was anime. Pretty interesting topics lined up. um, yeah, so I want to actually talk about a couple things, but I might shoot the shit for a couple minutes because there's some folks falling through. Some folks falling through shortly. So, um, there's an anime. This is super random. This is an anime. There's an anime called Undead Unluck. Extremely, like, extremely synchronistic for the times that we're in right now. Um, Fucking bursting with gnosis. You know what I mean? I mean, it's almost like a hearth book in an anime. It's like a hearth book in an anime. If you know how to read signs, um, so like if you know how to read, and if you know hermetics, uh, like hermetic principles and shit, it's just filled. It's just fucking filled with that shit. Anime, you know, they hide shit in cool places like that. Um, Especially lately, you know. When I was a kid, there was like Dragon Ball Z and all that stuff, and that's same thing there. That's a completely alchemical, hermetic, you know, esoteric anime. But it's like all of them are like that now. Not all of them. There's lots of fucking goofy ones, but all the good ones. I say that as if everyone considers the good ones to be good ones, but before I started this channel, I actually was about to start an anime channel. Not right before, probably about a year before that. I bought a new computer and was like trying to, teach myself how to edit and shit. I just, you hear me say I don't fucking want to edit anything now. Imagine me trying to edit together anime videos. I get mad when I have to cut something, you know? I get mad when I have to fucking cut something. Can you imagine me trying to fucking edit anime shit together? No, never happened. I do love anime though. I really do love anime. Anyway, if you watch anime, try out Undead Unluck, especially if you know how to read. Or, if you know how to read, or if you're a code talker, you'll fucking get it. Is there anything else before I get started? Just generally speaking, I'm probably gonna say this from time to time, just randomly. Don't let these agendas get you fucking worked up, bruh. You know? Don't. There's a dude right before I hit the button. There's a fucking dude screaming at me about Texas. Screaming about the president, screaming about immigrants and shit. And look, I get it, but some stuff is just performative, you know? I've lived in Texas before. Dude didn't even sound like he is from Texas. Not saying he doesn't live there now. You know, I'm not from Texas, but I'm also not like telling people I'm from Texas. You know? I guess he said I live in Texas. But it sounded like he was from like Mississippi or Louisiana, which would make sense. They're right next to Texas, but still, whatever, you know? Just don't let that shit work you up, dude. We can't stop most of this stuff. A lot of it's not real anyway, and they're really just trying to buy time while they fix their plan, you know? Because their shit's not working right. Everything they try to do fucking backfires. Not everything. Some of the shit's working, but the overall stuff. And I think they can sense that some of us are kind of at our breaking point where we just kind of don't give a fuck, you know? Like, some of the more large scale shit. And there's just some of us where it's not to say that the attack doesn't, you know, make it through, or that it doesn't, you know, find a home, if you're familiar with that vernacular for attacks. It finds a home, but there are some of us that just don't, we don't give a fuck like that, you know? I mean, speaking personally, I've already been put through a significant amount of bullshit, you know? So that type of shit doesn't really work on me. And I can't imagine that I'm the only one that's like that, you know? Anyway, I don't know. So the topic that I want to get into, just like everything else today, very synchronistic in nature. Just the layout that I have set up. It's gonna go from topic to topic, but they all kind of string together like a macaroni necklace. What I originally thought of that I wanted to talk about came from another video. I had mentioned a family member and how weird a lot of the interactions and situations that have to do with them have gone. And so, you know, I had said I was going to talk about it the very next day. And when I thought about it, I was like, oh, maybe I should think on this a little bit longer. So I did. I thought about it, and I came to some realizations of things that I probably shouldn't bring up, or that I should say in specific ways. But that's about the gist of it, you know? So I'm just going to talk about it. And within that, it's going to string into other parts of the same thing. Just so I can kind of remember for myself, I think I might say a little bit of it. Right? Yeah, just for the sake of helping me out. So family, and more specifically, artificial family theory is what I'm gonna call it. Artificial family theory. And the reason that I say that there's a couple of different topics in there is because there are different ways that this can work. And I'm gonna explore those. Just, you know, just talking it out, gonna explore those things. And just to give like a bit of a rough overview, there is the most common interpretation of that, which would be, and I say common interpretation, but that would be within the groups that I'm running in, within the groups that I talk about and shit. And I'll even give credit to where this kind of first came into my bubble. Rashad Jamal, I don't remember what video it is, but Rashad Jamal's talking about the concept of like how they, whoever they is to you, is inconsequential within what I'm talking about currently. But they know who you are before you do, within this theory. And also within this theory, the way that they confirm that is when you are born, they take you to go clean you up, is what they tell your parents. They tell your mom or whoever when you come through the portal, right? I don't like using that terminology usually, but that is a literal portal. A woman's body is amazing. The body in general is amazing. The woman's body, though, there is no comparison. There is no other comparison in this realm, in this reality, to a woman's body. They literally carry a portal. And you know, I think I should talk about that later. Not today, but I think I'm going to talk about that in a different video. I keep doing that. It's kind of cool. Come up with videos for the next time I'm going to talk about that. That's cool. Anyway, from the minute that you come through that portal, they take you and they tell your parent that they're going to clean you up, make sure you're doing good, and they're going to weigh you and all the bullshit that they actually do in the room. They do that in the room. So when they take you, the theory is that they're actually taking some blood and they're doing some very, very quick natal chart calculations to make sure of who you are. And within that theory, this kind of dictates what your life, your reality is going to be like from this point on. And where my mind goes, I can't remember specifically everything Rashad Jamal said in his video, but it doesn't really matter because I use my own interpretations of things. So even if you give me an idea of some shit, I'm still going to figure out what I think, the thing is, what I interpret the thing to be. And so when I think about it, when they take you and do the natal chart and figure out who you are and all that stuff, it would stand to reason that they maybe even know who you were before, like last time, if you were here before. I don't really know very much about that natal chart stuff, so I don't know how specific it can get, and obviously I don't know what they are capable of, those that cult, that massive cult. I don't know what they're capable of, so who knows? They could be very capable of knowing who you are and all kinds of stuff, divination tools. And so within that theory, you are, let's say you're found to be someone of note, whether you know it or not, which, I'll get into what I mean by that in a little bit, but whether you know it or not, they do. And so within this theory, once they figure out, oh shit, it's one of them, this is, whether they say, oh shit, it's one of them, or oh shit, this is blank, they have a code name for you or some shit, or they know your actual name, who the fuck knows? So at this point, maybe once they figure out, by doing that natal chart, by doing that research on you, running blood, DNA testing, who knows? I don't think we actually have a good grasp on what technology and tactics they have for all that type stuff. This kind of dances between the metaphysical and the scientific. And so within this theory that I built from this initial stuff that I heard Rashad Jamal reference, he talks about how if they do find you to be someone of note, they say, oh shit, we've got to, do something about this. And so the thought is that to disrupt your memory further than what's already standard, you are potentially placed with new beings. And, obviously there's a lot of potential for being many different explanations of what that means, because there are situations where you look like the beings that you've come up with, and they could still not necessarily be, of your blood. And there are situations where you look nothing like them. And so even within that, it kind of creates a branch, um, or splits from that, where it could be that you're put with a new group, a new family that is not of blood relation to you, but they don't know it, so they still, like, do their best to bring you up, but there's all these hardships and things like that. And subconsciously, what I would think is, if they are not related to you in that way, by the blood, then subconsciously they would treat you differently, without even knowing it. And I'm pretty solid in that one. That is a theory, but I'm pretty solid in that one. I think there's a lot of subconscious processes that we don't even understand. And I say subconscious, but I don't know that that's even the right word for what I'm talking about. It's like an instinct. I've heard beings talk about it, but like, I've heard dads talk about it before. Those very, very sad situations where they find out that the kid's not theirs, and they say things like, I always had this feeling. I always had this weird feeling, just could never put my finger on it. And then they find out that the kid's not theirs or something like that. So situations like that, where you get placed with a family, but they're not even aware of it. But there are other iterations of this. There are other potentialities for this, where maybe you get placed with a family and one of them is entrusted with you because, maybe potentially their job, maybe they're an analyst, maybe they're an agent, government official. That's another potentiality. Another potentiality would be similar in that, it's not just one. It's maybe both parents but not the siblings, or everyone else in the family but you knows. I think there's many different potentialities for that, possibilities for that. I know that sounds extreme. I know that sounds, sci-fi. It sounds like a sci-fi movie or a thriller or something like that. The first thing I would say is, when you consider where they get the plots for these movies, where do you think they get those from? Do you think that they're creative to that extent? Do you think that these are concepts that they just come up with all their own? Because I think lately what we've been seeing with the plots of movies and TV shows is that they're not nearly as creative as many give them credit for. Why do you think there are so many remakes happening within the last couple decades? And then the things that aren't remakes, they're not good. Generally, they're not good. And it's not to say that this is absolute. I've definitely seen many, many good movies, many good TV shows, but half the time they are remakes, or they're built from an adaptation of something. And then the other 50% of that, there's very specific groups, very specific species of beings that are writing those, And no, I do not mean that in a pigment way. I don't mean that in a color way. I mean that in the way that I usually talk about it, which has nothing to do with pigment. I think that many times when we watch these TV shows and movies and shit, those are about us. Those are about a specific group of beings that are here, and many look at it as like mockery, like you're being mocked, and some of them, maybe that is what's going on there. But I don't think that's necessarily what it is all the time. I think a lot of the time it's potentially awe. They're in awe of you. They're incapable of not showing their veneration, whether it feels like hatred to them or not. They can't help but write stories of you, to write your myth, to write your gospel, to share the amazing things that they've seen and heard that you can do, even if you don't know. That's what I think. And that's not something that's specific to me. I have no illusions about that at all. Many beings that I don't agree with on most things have also said this. You know, the the African American collective have brought that up quite a bit. You know, that the X-Men is about a specific group of beings, that the Marvel stuff is about a specific group of beings. The reason I say I don't agree with them is because they're confused. They tend to believe that there is one specific look, you know, pigment of beings that are special, magical. And though I do agree that we have been put through more, and I would even agree that there's something different about our bodies, about our genetic makeup, I still don't agree with that summary. Don't agree with that, and I'll explain why in a bit, because that kind of goes in with something else. But to go back to what I'm basically saying is that many of us talk about how we feel like the black sheep in our families, right? And I think we don't take many steps past that. We just feel the pain, we feel the hurt, we feel the obscure nature of, you know, how we're treated, the ostracizing, the weird looks, the attempts to manipulate you into being more like how they are, right? But because of that, I think that many aren't like taking extra steps into like, what's up with that? Why do I feel like that? Why are they making me feel like that? And even beyond that, maybe they're not making me feel anything. Maybe we just are different. And so it wouldn't be their fault. It wouldn't be your fault. You are literally not them. They are literally not you. And recently I've said, you know, and I think not just recently, but in general, in a few videos I've said, do you know for sure, or have you just been told that that is who you come from? Do you remember being born to that person? Do you have a grasp on your memory to the extent that you can remember specifically when you were born to these people? Or do you just have, like what many of us have, a foggy start where you're already 3 or 4 years old? Even if you're 2 or 1, that doesn't signify your birth. That doesn't connect to your birth. And so if you feel so different, and they have all these different traits that you don't have, or vice versa, why do we ignore things like that? I've never understood why we ignore things like that. I think that there are many answers hidden in our tendency to move too fast. You know, whether it be like, oh, I wonder why X, Y, Z, and then the answer that someone else has given you in the past jumps into your head, and you accept that to be the answer. Because I think that's one of the bigger issues that a lot of us is facing, is that we are not building our own answers. We're not being, you know, critical of the things that we're told. Which, I'm not saying that that's our fault. I'm not saying that that's our fault. I'm not saying that that's something to be ashamed of. I mean, even just to contemplate this, or to listen to me contemplate it, it means that you're smart. You're snapping out of it. You're at least starting to ask the question. Like, and it doesn't just even have to do with that. It's no one wants to hurt those that you've considered to be family for your entire life. I'm not trying to hurt those that I still consider them a type of family. But, you know, longer than recently, so not a short time ago, I thought to myself, just because I've been told that, you know, this being and this being and this being and this being are of blood relation to me, I don't have to agree with that. If I don't feel that, then I don't agree with it until, you know, there's a tangible way to prove that, to physically prove that. And then also, I don't think that we've been given the truth on what family actually is. And I know that that's like weird paradoxical thing to consider, but the reality is that we've been lied to about most things. Most of the things that we think we know either don't exist, or they're vastly different than what we've been taught, or they don't make sense and we just never thought about it because everyone does it. There are many, many reasons for the way that I think. I think like this because of stuff. I'm not just trying to make people upset. I'm not trying to get attention. I'm not trying to like break up the idea of this reality. It's just never felt right to me. It's never felt natural. It's never made sense. And anytime I've expressed that, it very much, you know, snaps into trying to correct that. It defends itself. And so that, to me, that doesn't stop at the concept of family. And it's not to say that those beings weren't good to you, or that they didn't do things to help you to grow and to be a better being or anything like that. But the concept that family is important, I think that's true. And so to go an entire life with the illusion of your family, meaning, you know, well, those are my siblings and they hate me, but we're family. How many of us do that? How many of us have done that? What is that? Why are we doing that? What does that benefit anyone? How does that serve anyone involved, other than to create more derision and division and frustration and many other, you know, disagreeable emotions? I think that there is a good possibility that at the very least, the beings that are out there that are like me, that I talk about, that I'm trying to find, you know what I'm talking about. You've felt it before. You don't feel the same as them. You force yourself to try to feel the same as them, but you never felt the same as them. You may even feel a disconnect that makes you feel guilty sometimes. Like, well, I'm supposed to feel this, and this for them, but if I'm honest with myself, I don't. And if I'm honest with myself further than that, I don't feel guilty. I just think I'm supposed to. And it's not just that this, you know, phenomena happens with. There's a lot of stuff like that where I know I'm supposed to feel certain emotions or certain things. And it's not to say that I'm devoid of those emotions or devoid of empathy or any of that stuff. I have more of most of those things than most beings I come into contact with. But specifically, certain trained things, responses, emotions, they don't make sense to me, and they don't feel natural to me either. In the past, it's definitely, possible that I've forced myself to try to make those things manifest within myself, and sometimes capable of doing that. But again, never felt natural, and I think I'm just kind of done faking those things. My priorities have changed quite a bit, and the concept of artificial family, whether it be for demiurgical, kind of surveillance or manipulation or sabotage, or just, trying to trip you up and putting you with regular beings that are not like you. I don't accept that. I'm not going to just let that be what it is. It's why I started doing this. It's why I started speaking in the first place. And I think that I'm not trying to convince anyone. If anything, I'm sharing. I'm sharing things that I feel that could be possible, Not saying that they are the case for me whatsoever. And to be honest, I was very, very fortunate with the mother that I was given. So even if this was the case for me, that doesn't negate the connection and love that you may feel for these beings that are objectively not you. It just means that your understanding of what family is and what family means and the mechanics of it, it's never been a foreign thought to me to be able to have, multiple mothers, multiple fathers, different kinds of mothers, different kinds of fathers. These are things I just don't talk about, because the few times I did, they seemed like they were so foreign to the other being or beings that it just didn't seem worth it to bring up as a concept. But, that's just because I didn't know how to connect dots in ways that can prove points like I can do now. So, to prove that it's not such a foreign thing, you have a birth mother, right? When you have a birth mother and birth father, what's one of the first things that they do? One of the first things that they do when you're born, before you're born, actually. One of the first things that they do is decide who your godparents will be. And I'll be the first to admit that, just like with many other traditions, the etymology of that, the roots of that have been sullied. They've been watered down. But in other cultures and in previous cultures here, that meant something. That meant a lot. They played a big part in your life regularly. It's not just someone you saw, every Christmas or, whatever. These were actual other parents to you. This was another set of parents for you. That is a concept that already exists within this, whatever the fuck this is. So that inclination, that comfort that I have with the concept of multiple mothers, multiple fathers, is it so weird, or is it just that my interpretation of it is not compensatory to this place? I think that happens a lot. I think there's a lot of things like that. Same thing with siblings. Their beings meet new people. They get to know them. they share moments with them. They share, you know, significant moments with them. After a conglomeration of moments, they consider themselves to be close. And then maybe some more gets added, and they consider themselves to be siblings, brothers, sisters, uncles, aunts, play cousins. That's a common thing for many, play cousins. Recently, I've seen more beings talking about how you are related to some by blood, but you build your family yourself. And I get that concept, and it resonates with me. But that's not specifically what I'm talking about. I do like the concept of that, and I do support the concept of that. Building your own family, making sure that you use discernment to control who you allow in to this, because it's something to be protected, right? But what I mean is, there is literally family here that I can feel. So I'm not talking about meeting people that I just like a lot. I'm saying I could feel them. And I felt that for the longest time. I wrote a song before I went to prison, so that's 10 plus years ago, you know. What, 2013? No, before that, 2011, 2012. The concept of it was just saying how I could hear them screaming for me, as they could hear me screaming for them. And just like encouraging them to keep screaming, and I'll keep screaming until we find each other. I'll see if I can find that song. It's a very interesting concept that I don't really remember coming up with. But that's kind of what I mean. And it had been so long that I didn't change my mind, because you can't. It's a feeling. You still feel it. But I had definitely gotten discouraged. I had gotten very discouraged, started feeling like beat up by this experience, by this place. And then, found one. Found one. And then found another. And the second was more profound than the first. And the feeling of that is indescribable. It's not something that I can easily describe. I think I'm already long-winded. I think I would take a really long time to try to put that into words, you know? So it affirmed that for me. And not just on a whim. Like, when we talk about specific things, it's just affirmed. I'm not going to go into all that shit. Maybe we'll talk about it at some other point, but I would like to have their permission and also their help, because me trying to like explain it by myself just is going to make me just sound like a crazy person. But yeah, so I genuinely think that using, from a metaphysical perspective, this kind of goes in with other feelings that I've had about myself. And, trying to figure out what I come from, who I am, what I am, as much as I can try to figure out without using the template that I've been given by this place. Because if there's anything that I can definitely rest on is that 99% of the shit I've been given or presented by this place is bullshit. You know what I mean? It is fucking fake. So it's something where just using that discernment, like, okay, so if it's all fake, then I need to start listening to myself. I need to start hearing the things that I say and not brushing them off instantaneously because of some, subconscious shit that has me self-managing, that was imprinted on me by someone else in order to keep me in a box, in order to keep me from, from glowing, from emitting the natural light. It is that oppressive. I know that might sound dramatic, but it is that oppressive. And I mean, it's something that I struggled with for a certain amount of time because I felt like it was just me. And then, like I said, I met one, I found one, and then I found another. And the second, it's undeniable. The first is a feeling, but the second is completely undeniable. And so it's that affirms it for me. And it's definitely not to say that I'm not still learning, because, our memories have been fucked with. Our genetics have been fucked with. And that's not theory. You can go to the doctor and they'll tell you that. Your genetics are not what they should be. They're capped. There's weird caps on our DNA. What's up, Void? I just think that if we work on allowing ourselves to just be, instead of, bowing to judges and manipulating ourselves for judges and shrinking down and in for judges, I think we're going to notice that we're capable of amazing things. And you just have to have discernment and support and intelligence. And sometimes that means being able to notice, like, oh, this group of beings that I'm told is my family is not, maybe not what I think they are. Doesn't mean I have to get rid of them, but until I realize that and stop just trying to mash my circle body into their square, cubby hole, maybe I'll have more success in figuring myself out, in doing better within this very weird already experience. Yeah, it is very natural. It's listening to the natural intuition that you have, within you, and not extinguishing your own light for the benefit of others, even if they are your family. I think that's a very common tool, is to say, oh, well, I've got to dim myself so that they can feel more comfortable with me, or around me, or being associated with me. And lately, that's been something that I've come under attack for a lot. I'm not going to put names on that, but within personal life, like things that I talk about, things that I research, things that I've come to form opinions on, or beliefs, the pushback is wild. The pushback is very weird. I mean, there's certain aspects of it where it's like, this doesn't even affect you. Like, why do you give a fuck? Why do you care this much? You know? And there's always an answer, but I think I'm a pretty good judge as to whether or not those answers actually line up or make sense. And many times it just doesn't make any sense, and it just kind of feels like something else is driving that, you know. And, you know, it's not a concept I'm coming up with on my own. The whole Agent Smith thing, that seems to be one explanation for it. But also, like I said, if you don't know who those beings were before you were born to them, before you were inserted into that family unit, what if they care that much? Because that's their prime directive. That's their job, is to keep you from waking up, to keep you from opening your eyes, to keep you from shining, to keep you from glowing, growing, remembering what you are, even if not specifically, you know. So yeah, I mean, that's one concept that really has been something I've been contemplating a lot lately, and not just the past couple of days. I've been wrestling with that for a significant amount of time. Ever since that video that I was watching. I heard Rashad Jamal kind of give this scenario, and it just made a lot of shit snap into place for me, and I'm like, oh, that's heavy. That is fucking heavy. And I'm not trying to say that I know who is or who isn't for me, even, or for you. This is just a theory that I'm presenting because it's something that I've wrestled with. I think that not running away from shit like that and really trying to deal with it can help a being to make sense of this place and ultimately make sense of themselves. Because if you're not trying to mash your circle body into their square cubbyhole, then you can make a lot more headway on understanding yourself and your divinity, and understanding that it's some of the things that you know about yourself aren't so strange as you keep being told or beat over the head with. And that maybe you should trust yourself more about yourself, at the very least, if not everything. So yeah, that's one aspect that I have been wrestling with for a while. Which kind of takes things into another aspect, which I kind of already touched on within that, you know, whatever the fuck that was. Some people call it spirit family, some people call it your tribe, some people call it, you know, your cosmic family. There's all kinds of names for it. Some of them I don't really like them or respect them because there's so much like buzz, like hipster, trendy shit attached to it, like, you know, the whole concept of the love and light shit. But the concept itself is not foreign to me. Before everyone started talking like that, like, I have felt that before I even understood that I felt that. Like, I've always had this thing, and it's to a fault, it's to an extreme, where, you know, each time I would start to build like a friend group or something like that, I would start to, you know, say that they were like family to me, like siblings. And no matter how many times that happened, you know, I would get betrayed in one way or another, at least. And much like I said before, that makes a lot more sense now. Like, I understand what I was doing, but I didn't understand what I was doing then. And I was going about it horribly. That's the worst way to go about that. Not the worst, but not a good way to go about that. Because this is such a big place, and there are forces, unseen forces, that are potentially fucking with you, and attempting to keep you alone and or surrounded by beings that are not like you. They're not like you. And that can be very confusing. It can be very, very it can be very traumatizing. It can be traumatizing. It can be tiring. It can make you feel so tired. You know, especially if, you know, I used to say that I just didn't learn, but I don't think that's what it was. I think something deep within me was like, yeah, it sucks when this happens, but were you just going to give up on finding them? You can feel them physically, but you're just going to give up on finding them because you keep fucking up and you know, just going for friends, you know, and then thinking that they're the ones you've been looking for just because you like to hang out together. And the answer was no, whether I said it to myself or not. Because there were a few times where it's like, I'm not doing this again, you know. Not saying I won't have friends, but obviously this whole we're all so tight, we're family shit is fake. It's just me. I would say that to myself, and then, you know, obviously I can still feel them, so new group of friends or different variation of friends, and we'll do it again, you know. And I think that now I have a different discernment that allows me to view that differently. And also, you know, I'm not fucking 22. I'm not hanging out with 30 people every night. Though I'm not against that, honestly. I'm still a very social person. Just, these are interesting times, you know what I mean? So, you do as you do until things switch up. And the concept of feeling them out there has never left me, not once. And if I focus on it, it's agonizing to feel them out there, but to never even get close. Like, and to start to become conscious of the fact that not only am I never getting close, but something is like keeping us away from each other actively. That part I didn't become aware of until fairly recently, when I started really trying to look and really like putting out messages like beacons to try to get them to see where I am. I very quickly saw how much would be done to like keep space in between. You know, I live in America, but my videos that I started doing for the purpose of that are being pushed in, you know, the UK and Australia and Puerto Rico and everywhere but where I am. What's that? You know? Just all these like weird situations and inconsistencies and things that just kind of come together to be like, oh, this is something doing a thing, trying to keep me within this vicinity or keep others outside of this vicinity to being aware of who and where I am, and so on and so forth. And like, it's not to say that that's absolute. Obviously, you know, you can kind of fight against these things in certain situations. What's up, commercial? And you can do your best to like not really give up on that and try like very, very hard to just keep going and keep attempting, because it got to if you've ever seen fuck. If you've ever seen The Truman Show, I hate having to use these fucking movies, you know, that have become so popular. But that's my own shit, dude. That's just me not wanting to. It's me wanting to be counterculture for some reason. That metal kid shit really like does something. But if you've ever seen The Truman Show, right? Truman starts to realize that something's very not good about where he is and about the people around him. All of the people around him. And he becomes very uncomfortable, and he just wants to go to a beach. He just wants to take a vacation. Which is code. It's really him, it's his subconscious saying, I just want to go somewhere else. Just let me leave. Just let me leave. I won't bother you. You don't have to like keep tabs on me and do all this like weird tracking shit. Just let me leave. And the things that he goes through to try to get away, like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I watched that movie recently, and it almost moved me to like tears, because the difficulty that I've gone through in certain situations that felt like that, it just kind of hit me in a different way than I think it would for many other beings, because I tell the story about that state that will remain nameless, because I see what happens when I say that state. Dude, they really were not trying to let me leave. They were not trying to let me leave. Like, it was almost like I had to escape. I had to escape that place. And the things that I went through while I was there, you wouldn't even believe some of them. I'm kind of considering just putting those stories on Patreon. Because trying to not get murdered. But also, I just think that, they might come off as paranoid or something. But I trust my intuition, and I trust my perception of things. And that place is creepy. The level to which that was going on was creepy. It's heavy. It was super heavy. Making the delineations between Truman, and I know there are many people that are like, this is the Truman Show, this is the Truman Show. And, they probably do feel like that. There's lots of reasons that you could feel like that. But I just think that there aren't many that have been held in places, or, this place does something to you to try to keep you somewhere. Like, it's hard to explain, because even that's not a good way to convey what I'm trying to say. Very sim-like stuff. And you could try to like switch something up real quick, like try to juke it, and that shit did not work very often. I don't know. But within that, there are times when it's almost like there's something else that's fighting for you. And I didn't become aware of that concept until very recently. Maybe even today? I don't know. I think maybe I became aware of it like a little before that. But then today, all these synchronicities and epiphanies and shit is like, something's helping me. Something is helping me, which made me feel weird, because I'm so close to like, I was so close to just being like, nah, this is 100% fucking y'all to bath. Like, this is 100% bullshit, but that's not true. and I don't know what the mechanics of it are, because that's one of the reasons that I figured out that there is a Yaldabaoth, was all these like Abrahamic people, like he's a god of 100% love, he cares about you, he'll do anything for you, and all this other shit. Meanwhile, I'm looking around, I'm looking around and looking at my like, you know, situation, and even other being situations, and being like, what the fuck are you talking about? You don't see all this horrible shit, you know? And so I became aware of the negative aspects, the archonic, demiurgical aspects first, but more recently I started to notice, like, oh shit, something's helping me. And I'm trying not to think too deep into it while also trying to think into it, because I can't help but think about it. But if I think too hard, I'll think myself out of it. Does that make sense? Like, if I think too hard, I'll start to do that, like, contrarian, almost negative pessimism thing, where I'm like, well, where's it been? Why wasn't it helping me before? Where was it when this happened? Where was it when I was in that state going through that shit? You know? Which, where was it, you know? But at the same time, though, that doesn't have to be what I focus on. What I could focus on is that it seems to be helping me now, and there's a potential that maybe I wasn't at the place that I needed to be at from its perspective to help me. And as much as I don't want that to be the case, maybe that is the case. Maybe I'm having to break out of this Abrahamic, like, as long as you're obedient, you know, as long as you're an obedient slave, God will do anything for you. That old bullshit, because that doesn't even make sense. That's never made sense. So because I'm a good old slave and I'm doing whatever you make me do, you'll fake like you're gonna do whatever for me? Like, that's, I don't like that, you know? Now that I have a brain to think with, that, I don't like that. But if I'm, you know, trying to be logical, and I stick to the things that I have, like, feelings about, like, the first. I talk about the first. I don't think that the first is necessarily omnipresent. I think that the first is very, very, like, much like we are. We're made in the first image. And so, though that has a lot of power, I don't think that it's something where it's like it can just do everything at one time. That doesn't resonate with me, because we're not even close to being able to do that. And we are reflections of the first in my eyes. So what does make sense to me is if you're putting out the right frequency, if you're putting out the right power, or if you are screaming for help, if you're screaming for things to be different, then maybe the first can hear you then. And if you're seen as being in a place that can accept or not, you know, trick that help off, like fuck that help off, like many tend to do, then you'll get that help. That makes a lot more sense to me than the, you know, Abrahamic Christian dogmatic shit. So yeah, I mean, that one's not as long as the first one, but I feel affirmed in that feeling that I've had since I was a kid. I've always felt others here and just didn't know how to. I said that a few times and was very quickly shut down, like made to feel like it sounded crazy, and so I didn't really bring it up. And then I started doing that thing I said where I would just start calling the friends that were around me the most often. I would start saying that they were them, but they weren't. And that really like put me in some bad situations. And so now that I feel clearer and healthier, back at it. And it's actually making sense and actually working. So, you know, I one of the things I'm really trying to do is not like work too hard at filling in blanks, or like filling in blanks with shit that isn't true or that doesn't make sense just to know. So the parts of this that I don't know, I'm not gonna fake like I know. I'm not gonna make shit up or pretend. I'm not gonna ask others that I know have no idea what I'm talking about just because they talk about metaphysical shit. Like, it's a process, and it's gonna take what it takes. I was gonna say it's gonna take a while, but I don't know that. I don't know what it's gonna take. I just know that I have to, and so I am. And I was doing that before almost on faith, you know, which seems like a beneficial iteration of that concept, faith. And today, it's like doing a very long ritual, and almost giving up, and then you're showered with gold flakes. You know, if you're familiar with real rituals, you'll know what I'm talking about. Because that's not even the desired result. That's just them letting you know that they hear you when you get showered with gold flakes. Real gold. That's the guardian angel ritual. There's a movie about that that's really fucking good. It's called A Dark Song. If you like movies, watch it. A Dark Song. One of my favorite movies ever. It really shows the intensity of doing rituals and how some of them can fucking suck. And, you know, that is magic, but not, you know, my kind. Not the kind that I keep talking about. You're putting yourself into a hypnagogic state, and you end up hallucinating some shit, is basically what that is. The gold flakes, I don't know what that is. I don't necessarily want to put that on it, but that could just be the beginning of the hypnagogic state. And so there's something else I want to talk about, but it's not directly in this vein. And Void is gonna come in, I believe, in a minute. I'm trying to think of if I hit the other topics. Oh, I think I was gonna talk about my dad some. Should I do that, dude? Void, do you think that story that I told you is like, even, does it matter like within this context, or should I skip? I don't like it. Just gonna do that. I don't know. I don't really mind, but it seems okay. So So, dude, I don't know what the deal is with that dude, with my dad. There's lots of weird shit that I just didn't really like understand when I was a kid. Um, I I there's okay, so I'm gonna share a couple things. This isn't gonna be a linear set of things, right? Just things that I should have considered, or maybe I won't say I should have noticed them, but I definitely fucking notice them now. So my dad is military, right? And he went to Turkey on one of his TDY, which is essentially when they have to go overseas for some shit, right? So, and he goes for like a significant amount of time. I think it was like 2 years or something. And he comes back and, sends me, or he comes back and gives me these three pyramids, and they're three different sizes. There's a small one, a medium one, and a large one, right? And it's not to say that they're uncommon, but they seem now to be like symbols of some kind, especially when taking the other shit I'm about to say into account. Um, they were gold and black, and they had sigils all over them, and and I really liked them. I don't really know why I liked them so much, but they were like heavy. I don't know, when you're a kid and you get to have something that's like small enough for you to hold and it's heavy. Maybe this is just me. I don't. I'm saying it like every kid is like this, but I liked to hold heavy shit. I don't know what the fuck that means, but I liked them. I liked these pyramids, right? Um, and, and at some point, I had moved out, and so they're at my mom's house, and, and I come back, and she had misplaced them completely, and like didn't really have like a good uh, explanation for what happened with those, and they were very like important to me. And at the time, I couldn't really put into words like why they were important, but now I think that they just kind of spoke to me in like a spirit way, like a soul way. Um, they they brightened the light in here, you know. Uh, I don't know how to explain that better. Uh, but yeah, she misplaced those. Was the way that she put that. Um, and that he was just like a very mysterious person. He's gone a lot, always somewhere else. And like I said, he was in the military, supposedly, but I think there's other potential explanations, now that I'm this iteration of me and can consider all these like metaphysical possibilities of shit, and that not everything you're told is the truth. Like beings will lie to do the things they need to do, especially you know, uh, within the radius of one of us. Um, so another instance of what I mean. He was in the military, and I guess it's not uncommon for them to ask you to join the Masons. So he starts, I don't know, what the specifics are of how that shit works. I don't know if he joined, like if this is considered joining, but he definitely started hanging. He said he was a Mason, so I'm going to say he joined. He joined, and one night early on after joining, he was still gone, and it was kind of like late. And I heard my mom call somebody and ask where he was. Like, is he there with y'all? And now I'm old enough to know, like, she was calling the like contact that she knew of with the Masons or whatever. And I'm sure it's somebody from work, from the military. And the dude was like, yeah, he was with us, but the meeting's over, so he's gone. We don't know where he is. And that stuck out to me, but I was like, whatever. He's an adult. I'm used to that. He's an adult. He can do whatever the fuck he wants to do. Because he was, what's wild is thinking that, oh, that dude was like 27 or some shit during these weird times where I think this is like a, an adult. Um, Thinking of me at 27 having a kid is wild as fuck. 27-year-old me definitely did not need to have a kid. But it just kind of struck me where they're like, now that I'm older, I'm like, oh, they lied. Like, they fucking lied and said that he was gone when most likely it seems like he was like doing an induction ritual probably or something like that. And the fact that they would lie about him being there was very creepy. And then after that, he said that not directly after, he was still like, kicking it with him and shit after that. But then a bit after that, he said that he quit, I think, if I remember right. He said he quit, but like there was like this level of secrecy to him that I couldn't really place. And I'm like, okay, uh, now I'm thinking back. There's all these situations that I'm thinking back on. I'm like, what the fuck? What does that mean? And I think about some of the stuff that has happened within personal, like my life. Some of it was so out of left field and like kind of like uncalled for. Like, what did I do for that to be some karma to be thrown in my direction? It made me wonder, even in those times, like, did you not sacrifice me to them or anything, but did you like kind of promise to give, loosh from me to them? Or, did you allow something to be attached to me? Or, you know what I mean? Because Masons, Masons are weird. Masons are a weird group of beings that are very good at PR, but when it comes down to it, there's some weird shit going on there. Any fraternal order, any hidden hand fraternal type order, they might talk some good game, but they do weird shit. Not all of them, but some of them do weird shit. And when you have Masons that get out and like kind of whistle blow, or they snitch essentially and tell the secrets, it's never good. You know, it's not to say that it's all bad, but there's a specific dude, a white dude. I can't remember his name. Maybe I'll try to find it. But he has been like a wizard. He was in the OTO. He basically hopped fraternal orders a lot. He was an order hopper. Coined that term. He was an order hopper. And now he talks about it. Now he puts out, and I found this dude like probably like 6 years ago or something. But he snitches. He tells on all these orders, and he talks about the things that he's seen. He talks about the rituals he's done. He talks about the many things that they do within those ranks. And most of what he talks about is not like little shit. It's not regular shit. Very real rituals, very real like spells and shit like that. But not real fucking magic, which, you know, that's what I want. I want real magic. Would I join the Masons if I could, fucking study under a real magic user? Uh, I don't want to lie, man. I don't know if I can say no to that. That sucks. I don't like that as the ultimatum. I don't like that ultimatum. What if that's what I get presented with, though? Not necessarily the Masons, but what if it's like, okay, so then you got to join this order. I'm not really against orders, though. I'm just against the ones that seem like they're doing fucked up shit to everybody. And one of those seems to be the Masons. The Shriners with their fucking Ronald McDonald shoes. Their murder shoes. Their fucking murder shoes. I'm going to get bumped off for talking like this. I'm talking greasy about all these secret people. Well, yeah, just very strange shit with that dude. There was another situation where dude kind of seems like he might have been like me, like maybe he felt weird. And you know what? I never met his dad. I remember seeing this dude's dad one time, and it was the creepiest experience of my life. He showed up at my grandma's house in the middle of the night. To me, I was a kid, so it might have just been nighttime. He shows up, it's raining, it's like thunderstorming. There's no light on the front porch in this moment. So he knocks, they open the door, he's standing there in the thunderstorm. And it's this giant fucking like scary looking dude. And that's all I remember. That's all I fucking remember. I don't know. I don't know what the fuck that means. Um yeah, man, that dad stuff. I don't know what's up with that. I don't know much about him. I don't know much about his dad. That kind of lends to the shit I was talking about earlier with the whole do you know for real though who you come from. Um, I don't know. There's other stuff. I think I might just like think on that some more and decide whether or not I want to talk about that shit. What's the void? I don't know how long this one is. So, um, I think we're kind of staying on topics though. But then there's also that other topic that we talked about. So, yeah, maybe we cut it and then come back in, right? Just for the sake of not because I mean on YouTube their attention spans, most of them are not watching all the way through, which is sad to me because it takes me a minute to get going. Anyway, yeah, so I'm gonna jump off and then I'm gonna come back and me and Void are gonna chop it up about the stuff I've already talked about and some new stuff. Um, so yeah, all the things. Uh, there's the Patreon. I'm still working on what I'm gonna do with that. It's shadow banned. Forgot to mention that. You can type in my entire name in the search bar on Patreon, and you will not get me. So it looks like the only way to get to my Patreon is to click the link directly, which is pretty fucked up. That's pretty messed up. Then there's the PayPal. Have not had a donation there, but you know, really trying to do a better job about not like taking back the please donate stuff. And I'm not taking it back, but it does feel weird. And I'm honest. I don't know that it's ever gonna not feel weird to be like, please donate though. I don't know. I don't know what that is. Donations are very, very helpful and needed. Would be helpful. The links are in my YouTube's description, the page, not the video. So the YouTube page description. It's Rasta Obsidian. That's the only one that's not gammaauobsidian. So Rasta Obsidian on PayPal for any donations. If you feel so kind as to help out. And then gammaauobsidian at Gmail, gammaauobsidian on YouTube, and on Instagram. I do terrible at this part. I'm gonna go and be right back. I love you. Bye bye.